that I keep my first name a secret from all of my students.
I didn't share it.
And when they ask, I say, my first name is Mr. And they say, no, it's not. And I say, yeah, look on my birth certificate. It says Mr. right there. So if you really want to call me by my full name, it's Mr. Maloy. And that's what my parents named me. And so they generally say, okay, well, that's sort of weird, but all right. So actually, I already had somebody ask me, well, what do all the highfalutin letters mean up there? And I will tell you that the first two, right there, okay, I really do have a Master's of Secondary Education from Utah State University. And I really do have a BA degree, which is a Bachelor of Arts in History. But whenever you say to somebody, I have a Bachelor of Arts in History, they say, BA. And I say, that's right. That's what it is. Now, the others, though, are self-ascribed important letters. That one right there, THG, is Total History Geek. And then the other one, which my students certainly know, is that I am a cool knowledge seeker, meaning I seek cool knowledge. I love to learn, and I am always looking for new information, new stuff to learn. And I challenge my students. I say, when you find something cool, send it to me so that I can be cool too. And it's amazing what my students have sent to me over the years that I've been teaching. And I haven't been teaching that long. We'll get into that in a little bit. So I suppose what we should do is we should, as all good stories do, we should start at the beginning. And in my case, the beginning, at least as far as my students are concerned, is that I was born a long time ago. Now, I know that for most of you, you either know my parents, you know me, or maybe you just stumbled in here and you're wondering, where did this guy come from? What the heck is he doing here? And where's he going with all of this? So, again, we'll start right here at the beginning, okay? Which is, I was born about 4,000 years ago. Now, this is what I tell my students, and it's why I teach history. It's because I have been there and pretty much done that. So I've been kicking around for a long time. I am timeless. I am ageless. And in fact, I tell my siblings this because chronologically, I'm the oldest of my six siblings, 7 including me. The oldest, but they've all passed me up, except maybe for my youngest sister, Karen. But she is closing the gap, I'm telling you. So, really, I meet people that I've known knew a long time ago, and they say, Mr. Maloy, you haven't changed in 40 years. I haven't changed in 4,000 years. But the other thing is that, where's your gray hair? And I said, well, okay, it's coming in. It's getting there. I just, I don't get gray hair unless I have to step out of my time bubble, which my kids were the ones that were most responsible for that. And, it's like whenever I had to discipline them, I had to step out of my time bubble. I was, all right, come on, just stop that, do that, do this over here, stop that. And then I would get gray hair. And I could always tell which child I was getting after because the gray hair would either be curly or straight. And so, look, see that one? That one's yours. Okay? Well, actually, we won't go back to 4,000 years. What I will do is I'll take you back to 10 years ago when I was sitting in an office rather unhappily, really trying to deal with ulcers, that kind of a thing. And I had spent the previous 20 years, and I had been working my way through high-tech companies. And at one point, I was employed by the old WordPerfect. Some of you might remember WordPerfect. I was a magazine writer for those guys. And then I went from there to Novell, and then I went to a startup that failed, and then I went to another high-tech company. And each time that I went to a high-tech company, I kept building my portfolio, kept getting up and higher into the ranks of basically technology geekdom. Okay, and after about 20 years of doing that, I was working for a company called Omniture. And Omniture was a pre-public company, and they gave me stock options. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I switched into that company, and no sooner had I gotten into that company than I realized, oh, crud, I've made a big mistake. And as I'm thinking about that, I'm trying to make the best of a really difficult position, but in the long run, they invited me into the office one day, and I was reporting directly to a vice president. And they brought me in. They had a human resources person over here, and a nurse, and a firefighter, and a policeman. I think they were really worried what might happen. And they said, Mr. Maloy, we're going to let you go. We've decided to go a different direction. He said, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. And they said, what? Wait, what? And I said, really, I am so glad, because I've been trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? And you don't want to be here? No! I think I'm done. And the thing is, it was such a relief to all of us. On the way home, I grabbed my Motorola brick cell phone, and I called my wife, Ann, and I said, sweetie, they just let me go? And she says, oh, how's that going for you? No, I'm just kidding. She says, well, okay, sounds like new adventure time. I said, yeah, I really do. I think this is time to pursue a totally new dream. And so she says, okay, well, let's talk about this. And so we did. And we talked about it with our parents. We talked about it with friends. And we decided that we would actually make the transition from high-paid, high-tech employee to becoming a teacher. And it was exactly 10 years ago, April, that I made that commitment. No sooner had I made that commitment than I got a job offer from Intuit in Tucson, Arizona for about $90,000. I got a job offer from a local company called Access 41, and they wanted me to come and consult with them for $100 an hour. And then I got the most amazing offer of all. I got an offer from Microsoft, and they wanted me to come and work for them for about $120,000 a year. Now, they wanted me to move up to Redmond, Washington. I wasn't opposed to that. But through all of this, I'm thinking, you said you wanted to be a teacher. Do you really want to be a teacher? And I thought, heck yeah! Turned them all down. And people said, are you freaking crazy? I said, yeah, I really am. And so for the rest of 2004, 2005, I taught all over Salt Lake Valley and up into Davis County here. And then in 2006, I was offered a job by Legacy Preparatory Academy, which opened up in 2006, just right over here in Woods Cross. And except for 1 year when I went to a sister school for some additional experience, I've been there since that school opened, Legacy Prep Academy. So I have a lot of students here that are from LPA. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Yes, you will get your extra credit if you do the report. Okay, well, so I'm guessing by now that you're wondering, okay, this is one strange guy, to trade away literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for a pittance, which unfortunately the state, not just the state of Utah, but the state of education throughout the country, education professionals are among the worst paid of all professionals. And also the reality is that we don't teach for the money. We teach because we hope that we're making a difference. And that was why I thought, if I can make a difference like teachers did in my life, then it's worth it. So you might be curious then, And I know that some of you are here because I totally said, if you come and you do a report, I'll give you extra credit. I appreciate that. Some of you are just simply thinking, well, I hope this is going to be entertaining. I hope so too. And then maybe you came here to learn something. What if I told you that it was possible to learn something and be entertained? Would that be awesome? Would that be amazing? Do you know that doesn't happen very often in schools, especially in public schools? It doesn't happen very often, but it is totally possible. In fact, fundamentally, I believe that when you're in class, you should be having fun. What we know is that when you're having fun, you actually remember things better. We know that. That's a scientific study that's been done over and over and over again. Okay? So I try to make what I teach fun. And in the process, I try to help them develop some new information that hopefully they can use at some point. Now you think, well, he's teaching about dead people. What good is that? Well, hopefully what I'm doing is I'm actually sharing information about the past so that we can figure out a better way to be. That's kind of my mantra. Well, okay. So I'm sure that you're kind of curious, and that's good. So hopefully by now some of you are just kind of doing the light bulb kind of a thing. Okay, if we can learn something and have fun, this is going to be good. So I got to tell you that I am completely and totally fascinated by us. And what I mean by us, I mean by humanity, by us as human beings. We are such bizarre creatures. And you think, no, platypus is more bizarre. Okay, all right, get that one. Or, maybe the narwhal is a really weird one. But you know what? We're weird. And we're weird because not necessarily, well, okay, some of you do look weird. But it's more than that. It's how we think and how we act. And that's the stuff then that gets really weird. Did you know that to make us, every single one of us, to make us, takes 37.2 trillion cells.
Where's the 0.2 come from?
Yeah, you might think, come on, really, Mr. Maloy? Couldn't you just round that down to 37? No, it's 37.2 trillion cells. And it's a good thing that we've got the 0.2, because when you get sick, you lose a few billion. I was sick just last week, and I had to, blow my nose constantly. I was blowing billions of cells right through my nose. Okay? And now, on the other hand, when I sneeze, I tell my students to be careful, because that's not, bad stuff. That's brain dust, and I need every bit of it that I can get. So we're amazing. And what's even cooler is that when we talk about us. First of all, we're so amazing. We're so brilliant. We make things like this, the Corvette. And believe me, when I was making this transition from high tech to teaching, and my kids said, "Dad, you're having a midlife crisis, but you're going the wrong way. Dad, you're supposed to put a Corvette in the driveway. Go out and get the Corvette." I said, I traded the Corvette for a classroom of kids. And of course my kids said, "Are you crazy?" And we've already established that. Okay? But I mean, look! That is so cool! Wow! So sometimes when I dream about Corvettes, I wake up, my pillow's all wet because I've been drooling. All right? Well, the truth is that when we talk about those 37.2 trillion cells, there are billions of cells that have different jobs. How did that happen? I mean, this is crazy. Especially when you remember that human life basically starts with a collision of just 2 cells. And then it goes boop, 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 like popcorn in your microwave. It's cells, and it starts to create, it starts to form, and all of a sudden one says, "Hey, I'm going to beat something different today." And then you start baking a human being. It's awesome. It's awesome. So We are so amazing, and yet at the same time so very weird. And I've wondered, I really have, I've wondered, it strikes me that God probably looks down and rolls his eyes, he's just going, are you freaking kidding me? Did I allow that guy? No, I cannot believe that. No, by the way, you ever tried to tell God a joke? It doesn't work. He already knows all the punchlines. He does. You can't ever tell him a joke. You can never surprise him because he's already got it. Yeah, I heard that one last week. Okay, well, I'm just saying that because I've tried. Okay? So, here we are. And I have to tell you that that part of what we do that I absolutely love is I love how we question. And I love my students. I love them all the time. I really do. And I'm not saying that. I'm not making that up. I tell my students I love them. And I say, you may not believe me at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, you will know that I love you. But one of the things that I love about them is I love when they ask questions. And in the process of asking questions, sometimes it causes me to really think. And just a little while ago, some things happened in class, and it really caused me to think. And as I went home, I went to bed on this one particular evening, and I'm just kind of racking my brain as to why? Why did this student say this? Where is she going with this? What is she thinking? And I went to bed, and my wife Ann can attest to this. All of a sudden, about 11:30, somewhere right in around there, it's like, light bulb. And I sat up, turned on my light at the bedstand, and started writing stuff. And I wrote furiously for about 30 minutes, went back to sleep, and it would stop. This inspiration stuff would not stop. It was just, I want you to have this stuff. Okay. Well, at least part of it turned into a poem that I would like to share with you. And I dedicate this poem to my students. And I call it Original Questions. Now, I'm a really bad poet, and I know it. You got it. Good. Okay, no, really, I am. Yeah, I've tried. But so this is a free verse poem, and I want you to listen and just think. Okay. Where do I begin? Is it when two cells collided? Was it when cool air first filled my lungs? Or was it eons before? Does it matter? Why am I here? Simply to occupy space? Or could there be some grander need? I ask questions. I feel I need to know. Am I a question mark? Maybe a period. Or possibly an exclamation mark in existence. Do I exist only for me or for others? Do I have meaning? Do I have a purpose? It seems as I ponder such perplexities that such questions only matter if there is more than just random moments of existence. Am I more? More than an accidental combination of primordial ooze? More than cleverly mutated and structured cells? Could I be more? Really? Oh yes, much more. There are glowing stirrings within. There is something that shouts within me. Let's grab this mystical sense of who we are, combined with hope and fire to create. This voracious dragon to be bridled that drives us to dream that things can be and should be different. This driving concept that somehow something can be better. This belly-aching, heart-wrenching yearning to create something that will outlive us, that proclaims to the world that I was here. And not just for a purposeless moment. but for a pivotal exclamation point that shouts through the corridors of time, I made a difference. And then, and only then, I shall sleep soundly, fully satisfied, knowing that I did something that mattered. So,
yeah! Love that script.
So we learn. And the truth is that we begin learning right from the very beginning. And we just, hopefully, we don't ever stop. Now, this is a picture of my wife and my kids, our twins. There, I got it. I said it right. Okay. This is Rick and Melissa before they turned 1. And first of all, I want you to know something, that when they were born, Ann and I got together and we said, no, look, we're not going to treat one of them specifically as a boy and one of them specifically as a girl. But we said that, we'll treat them kind of the same so that we'll let their own natural personalities develop. And boy, did they. Now, I will tell you, Melissa's here. Son Rick is not here. He had another commitment this night. But Melissa was the very passive one. Rick was definitely more aggressive. Laying together in the crib. And we would give them all kinds of stuffed animals. And Rick would look over at Melissa with her stuffed animals. Okay. Take the stuffed animal. And Melissa would be, oh yeah? I got another one right here. And Rick would play with his, oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, I got it. And Melissa said, oh yeah, I got another one right here. And that's how they grew up. Now, they developed their own personalities, and Rick was always more, I don't know if I would say fearless, but he was more willing to risk. And at the point that they were this age, right here, they started to stand. They started to experiment with walking. Now, this is so cool. When they were standing, Ann and I were just waiting. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. These were our first, right? Okay, and so it's like we could see them getting ready, and they would stand at the couch. And this is what Rick would do. He would stand at the couch and he'd just go like this. And Melissa would stand at the couch and just go, you're such a dork. And so, eventually Rick got a little bit more and he's going, we could just tell he was just aching to go. And it seems to me, because I was home, that this was like a Saturday afternoon, and all of a sudden, in the living room, Rick took off. And when I say took off, he was off and running 2-3 steps right on his nose. He gets up. Did you see what I did? And took off running in a different direction. 3 steps, 4 steps, right on his face again. He gets up. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Runs right into a wall. And Melissa's just standing there. You are an idiot. What are you doing? You're a spaz. You can see this. This was on her face. Just going. Really? Am I related to you? In the meantime, he's hitting every wall. And he's laughing. We had to put him in, get a full body helmet. No, we let it bounce off the walls. That's what we did. It was so cool because Melissa's just waiting and watching, and finally she says, all right, I've had enough of this. Watch how it's done right. And she let go of the couch and did this. She didn't even fall. It was how to do this. What we learn from this is, first of all, we learn through trial and error. We learn by making mistakes, figuring it out, trying again, maybe making the same mistake over and over and over again. But that's the nature of us. And that's all right. I just recently came across, in fact, actually, to be honest, it was today. I came across a quote that I wanted to share with you, and it says, this was by a lady by the name of Megan Stetler, and she said, there's no such thing as failure. It's either success or an education. Cool, right? She goes on to say this, which I thought this was also equally cool. She said, you're not your failures. You are not your failures. Your identity is just you and what you love to do. So keep that in mind, because we're going to wrap up this evening with a concept of that. Okay? All right. So we grow up, we learn, and something I learned just last night is that we learn through our own experiences. That is true. It's far better if we learn through other people's experiences. Thank you, Randy, for sharing that. So that's cool. That's really good, because the truth is none of us are going to live long enough to make all the mistakes that humans make. So it's a whole lot better if we watch somebody else and see their mistakes and say, oh, I'm not going to do that one. Okay? So my students, I call my students my kids, but there's a difference between my kids and my kids. Okay? So my students have been telling me about the newest rage, which they call bonsai dieting, which is you're in an airplane, you throw the parachute out, and then you go after the parachute and hope you get it on before you hit the ground. Guess what? I'm not going to do that. Because that just looks like insane. And I'm not so sure that bouncing is healthy when I'm this old. Now for a baby, babies bounce, that's okay. There it goes. But us, when we're old, 4,000 years old and ticking, we hit the ground, we turn into dust. What happened to it? I don't know. It was here a minute ago. Okay. Well, I'm going to share with you a series of stories that required me to learn on my own experiences, not other people's experiences. And I call them my bike stories. Now, you have to understand that when I was a kid, little kid, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and we had a small house with a large yard, and we had a sidewalk that was fairly long, went from 7th Street down quite a ways, And the thing is that we use that sidewalk for a lot of things, and I'll tell you about that a little bit more. But when I was about 6 years old, my dad said, well, I think it's about time that you learn how to ride a bike. I think, sounds cool. And he borrowed a bike from some neighbors. You remember the Thompsons, Cy and Rochelle? We borrowed a bike from their son, Greg. And this bike was a shiny red bike with training wheels. Now, I saw that thing and I thought, oh my gosh, that is so cool. That is the most amazing solid gold scrumptious thing I've ever seen in my whole life. I couldn't wait to get on it. Okay, now, Mr. Maloy, do you get the concept? Now, I've already been riding a tricycle, mastered the tricycle. Okay? I am good on a tricycle. Okay? But now we're talking about, hey, it's got 4 wheels. What am I going to worry about? And Dad explains to me, he says, no, wait a second. This thing has the pedals coast, so you don't always have to be moving the pedals to be going forward. And when you want to stop, you just back kick. You guys remember these kind of bikes? Okay? All right. And so Dad got it. Took off down the sidewalk. Right down towards the corner. Time to stop, right? I do the back kick. And I stopped. That's kind of cool. Picked up the bike, set it back down, and took off in the other direction. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at this long black line on the white concrete, and I'm going, did I do that? That's awesome! So off in the other direction. Picked up the bike, turned it around. And I mean, I'm going up and down the sidewalk. But the thing is that I figured out the faster I go, the longer the skid marks can be. Yeah. So, did that for a few days. I think by that time the corners were beginning to look black from all of the skid marks. And Dad came out after work one day and he says, okay, Mr. Maloy, you ready to take the training wheels off? What you talking about, Willis? No, wait a second. I didn't call him Willis because Willis hadn't been invented yet. But here's the thing, I'm just going, what? What do you mean take the training wheels off? Where's the training wheels? Those two little wheels back there, those are called training wheels. So, wait a second. Dad, if you take those off, I'm going to fall over. Mr. Maloy, have you not understood anything yet? I said, what, Dad? Said, look, you stay up with your momentum. Go, what's momentum? I don't get this. He said, no, trust me. He says, look, we'll take them off. I will help you. I will stabilize you. How many dads have done this? Yeah? Okay. Josh, you're not a dad yet. Okay, so this is the absolutely classical, prototypical thing that dads does. You know, they run along, they're holding the seat, right? And at some point, they let go and see how well you do. Okay? All right, so I made my dad promise, made him swear on his life that he wouldn't let go. So, here we go. Taking off. And going down, getting a little bit faster. And I can hear my dad. I can hear his footsteps. Very reassuring. We get down to the corner, and it's okay. So I stopped the bike, picked it up, set it back down again. So, all right, Dad, let's do it again. So here we are. I can hear his footsteps, and I'm getting a little bit bolder. All right, okay, I think I can do this. And I turn around and say, Dad, you can let go now. He wasn't there. And I totally panicked just as I got to our driveway, which angles out into the street. And I went into the street and across the street. I didn't know how to control this thing. And I went right across. Good thing there weren't any cars coming. Guardian angels on both sides of the ends of the street. I was like, whoa, stop that traffic. Because I got across the street. The only problem is I hit the curb on the other side. And the bike stopped. I didn't. And I remember falling over with the bike. Now, I am laying there and I am crying. Tears are flying out of my face. And Dad comes over and he says the same stupid thing that all adults say. Are you okay? No! I'm not okay! My dad says, you know you got to get back on that thing. No! So he picks me up. I clearly remember this. He picks me up and he walks me into the living room, and I'm really wailing. And he takes me in the living room, puts me on the couch. Mom comes in, and she says, are you okay? Do I look like I'm okay? No. So I'm sitting there, and Mom says, get back out there on the bike. No, I'm just kidding. She didn't say that. But a couple days later, guess what? I'm back out there on the bike without the training wheels. I figured it out. Which is really awesome. But But unfortunately, the bike had to go back. So now, for the next, oh gosh, it must have been almost a year, I'm pestering my dad. Dad, when am I going to get a bike? Dad, are you going to get me a bike? Now, my dad is so cool. My dad is so amazing. My dad knew at this point he had, okay, 4 boys, 1 girl. No, wait. Math. 5 boys, 1 girl. Yeah, okay. So he knows he's got to provide a lot of bikes coming up. I'm the oldest, but you can see all the rest of them. They're all there. Oh, man, a lot of bikes. My dad goes, and I don't know how he did this. To this day, I don't know how he did this. But my dad goes out and he buys out a bicycle store. Gets all of their parts. And he brings it home in a trailer. In fact, I think it was 2, maybe even 3 trailer loads. Am I right? It was a lot. And he had all these, I mean, we're talking about bike frames and wheels and handlebars and cranks and chains and fenders. And he put them all in our backyard, sorted them out nice and neat, and he says, and it is good. Okay, Dad. Now, from those, seemed like hundreds of bicycle parts, my dad really, truly did build bikes. He built a bike for Mom, he built a bike for himself, and he built me this bike. And he gave it to me for my 8th birthday. And I am just thinking, oh my gosh, there couldn't be a cooler bike in the whole entire universe. I mean, look at that. It's got a tiger stripe banana seat. It's got sparkly blue paint, sparkly. It's got this basket on front with a license plate that says, Mr. Maloy. And I'm just going, I have arrived. Everybody look at me. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to take it to school. So the very next day that we had school, and I don't remember if it happened on a weekend, but I remember, I was just so excited. I'm riding this bike to school. And oh, by the way, my dad painted this, okay? And so this was just, it was gorgeous. And at Longview Elementary in Phoenix, we had a chain-link fenced area where they had all these bike racks. And I'm parking my bike, and my friends are laughing. They're laughing. Like, what are you laughing at? This is a cool bike. And they're laughing, they're saying, Mr. Maloy, it's a girl's bike. And I go, what? What are you talking about? No, it's a girl's bike. And I go, no. Who knew that bicycles had gender? What do you mean it's a girl's bike? They had to show me, look, boys' bikes have this bar from the seat to the, steering handle thing. And I'm just going, okay. Look, all the girls' bikes, there are pink things over here and, some other things, And I'm just going, looks kind of like my bike. Really? It's a girl's bike? I don't get it. I was mortified. After school, I didn't even want to ride it. I walked home, walking the bike. I got home and Dad was there and I said, Dad, you made me a girl's bike. And he says, I said, what? You knew this? He says, Mr. Moore, I just didn't want you to hurt yourself again. Oh my goodness. Well, in all fairness, I did ride the bike, but only long enough until he could build another bike. My dad is a genius at building bikes. He built a bike, and my brothers will remember this. He built a bike in Phoenix, Arizona. We had these open fields, these vacant lots that had bullthorns all over them, and we were constantly coming home with pop tires. So my dad says, all right, I've had enough of this. And he goes out and he gets bike tires that are these big, huge, knobby tires. And then he took thorn-proof tubes and he slit one of them all the way around. And then he put another thorn-proof tube inside the other thorn-proof tube. We could drive over glass and not have to stop for a flat tire. I mean, this thing was indestructible. Now, today we'd probably call it something like Frankenbike or something like that. Back then, we just simply called it the tank. Because the tank weighed about 200 pounds, or at least we thought it did. I mean, this is a bike that's so heavy that if you drove it over a cliff, it'd go... And when you hit the bottom, your broken, crumpled body in the bike would say, hey, let's do that again. This was a heavy-duty bike. It was so heavy, we could not jump it. We could not get it off the ground. Okay, we tried. So, you would think then that with some, serious bike experience that this would be good. But then, one day,
What is that monstrosity?
our friend, a kid by the name of Scott Barker, showed up with this bike. It's like, oh my goodness. We had never seen anything like this. Called the Swinger. And I don't know if you can tell, but right up here, there's a gear shift. You see the black one? Okay? 5 speeds. 5 glorious speeds. And you see the red one? That one right there, that red one, actually was labeled brake. Scott comes over and says, hey, you want to ride my new bike? Are you kidding me? Of course we want to. Well, Kenneth and I know, Dan, did you ride this bike? Okay, all right. So that we all took times riding this bike, and it was finally got to be my turn, and I said, okay, all right. So I get on this bike. First gear. Down the street I go. Good. Second gear. I can start to feel the wind in my face and in my crew cut hair, making a noise as I'm going through the third gear. Fourth gear. And at this point, I'm beginning to feel the G forces. Whoa! Hit fifth gear, and I'm going into we called it the U. It was just a huge residential area that circled around in a big U shape, and we called it the U, well, because we didn't know the name of the street. Anyway, so I circle into this thing, and I am going like lightning fast. People are going, whoa, what's that thing? And I see up in front of me a parked car. Time to test out the brake. And I headed right for the parked car. And I got up to that parked car, and I said, all right, here it is. And I slammed that red knob forward, instantly locking the front tire. And that bike stopped. I did not. I landed on the back of the car that the bike never even touched. And I'm sliding down the rear window. And I fell onto the ground, onto the asphalt, just going... Must have been kidneys. I don't know. Now, you would think that maybe after all of that experience, I would have an idea that maybe I had to be careful with bikes. I don't know what possessed my dad to let me buy a motorcycle. But I was a paper boy, and I saved up my money, and we bought a used Kawasaki 175 Enduro. And my motorcycle actually had a very large rear sprocket. It was designed to climb mountains, which was great, except that then I always had to figure out how to get down. That's a whole lot harder than going up. But one day, my buddies and I, we loaded up our motorcycles into a trailer and headed out to the Arizona desert. And they all had racing dirt bikes. And so we were on this dirt road, and we were just kind of riding this big circuit, and every now and then one of my friends would come up and say, hey, Mr. Maloy, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. Off he'd go. Well, I had this brand new orange helmet, and I'm not kidding when I say that's exactly what it looked like. I was very proud of my orange helmet. I had also, I'd saved money and bought it. And I thought I looked super cool in it. And so I've got this brand new orange helmet on, and one of my friends comes up, a guy by the name of Greg Eccles, and he says, hey, we're going to meet down over there. Can you see where all that dust is over there? I say, yeah, I can see that. He says, can meet us down over there? So, okay. And he off he goes. He had a Husqvarna 360. And at some point, I see an extra puff of dust from his back tire. I think, soft spot. Better be careful. So I'm doing about 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour, and I am wide open. Throttle is all the way open. There's nothing left. And all of a sudden I realize, as I can see now what is happening, there is a gully right across the road. Right across the road, just wide enough for the front tire. And I think instantly, this is what's so cool about us. My brain analyzes this and sees, oh, my friend Greg, he just popped a wheelie and rode over it. Cool. I can do that. Oh, no, you can't. Not if there's nothing left. There was nothing left. I thought, okay, hit the brakes. And I slide for 100 feet right into that gully. And it stopped. I do not. And I am not kidding when I tell you that to this day, I can absolutely remember being airborne like this and seeing the motorcycle above me and thinking, don't scratch my new helmet, don't scratch my new helmet, keep the helmet off the ground, keep the helmet off the ground. When I landed on my shoulders, ripped up my shirt, thoroughly put all kinds of gravel into my skin, but I did not scratch my helmet. And then the bike came down. And laying there on its side, pouring gasoline and thinking, I wonder if they really explode like they do in the movies. That probably would not be cool. But I am really injured, and I didn't break any bones, but I was lacerated, and I was not feeling very good. But I managed to get up, put the bike on the kickstand, broken all of this stuff up here on the front. The fender had been broken, the handlebars were bent, but it would ride. It would ride, and that was eventually how I managed to get it back. Well, you'd think, maybe I'd stay away from two-wheeled vehicles altogether, but I'll tell you, that's another story for another day. You know what I want to share with you is, the point is that through thick and thin, we are destined to learn. And we just keep learning. Now, having said that, how do we learn? Experts say that we learn through three fundamental ways. We learn through hearing things, we learn through seeing things, and that includes reading. And then we learn by doing it. This is kind of a tactile thing. We learn by using our hands. And that's actually, it turns out, the strongest way that we can learn. So, when I was about 4 years old, my parents were going to go play tennis at the local high school. And we were all excited as kids. Colette, I don't know if you remember this, but we were excited to go because we did play balls and all kinds of things while my parents would play tennis. And I had not tied my shoes because to that point, I had never tied the shoes on my own. I always had one of my parents do it. And my dad says, time to learn how to tie your shoes. What? Dad, I can't do this. I said, look, I've showed you 100 times. You can do this. And I started crying, and it was just awful. It was horrifying. Well, I did learn how to tie my shoes. And of course, now fast forward, about 20 some odd years, and now it's me teaching my kids how to tie their shoes. Now, when Rick was young like this, I kept trying to tell him, this is how you tie your shoes. I kept showing him over and over and over again. He for whatever reason, he didn't seem to get it. And then one day he showed me, he says, look, Dad, I tied my shoes. I looked down and I said, well, they're tied, but they look different. They look strange. They look odd. And I said, show me how you tied it. And he showed me that he was just kind of double looping it and pulling it tight. And I'm going, well, I'll be darned. I've never seen anybody tie their shoes like that. And I'm thinking, that is weird. He says, but it works. And I'm, okay, well, we'll see. I bet they come untied all the time. They didn't. So even to this day, Rick, who's now 27 years old, still ties his shoes the same way. Well, what's even cooler is that he taught Jeff, my youngest son, how to tie his shoes the same way. Because, older brother, and little brother's highlight, oh, you can't never do anything wrong. Oh, hey, will you stop it? No. But the thing is that I tried teaching Jeff how to tie the shoes, what we'd say the traditional way. Rick comes along and says, no, do it like this. Jeff picks it right up. Okay. And that's great. One day, Jeff now, in his teenage years, he's got his shoes tied, and he's got those really thin lace waxes. You know what wax laces? You know which ones I'm talking about for dress shoes? And he tied them really tight. And so he had kicked them off, and now it's time to put them back on again. And he could not get the laces undone. So he just grabs a pocket knife, cuts them off, and now he's going, oh, okay. Laces are gone. So he's wearing shoelaces for a belt. Don't ask me why. I don't get this. This is bizarre. But he grabs one of these laces and puts it in his shoe, and off he goes. Okay, all right. I guess the point of that story, though, is that sometimes we think that we know the only way to do things, and it's not true. There's lots of ways that we can do some things. And if we allow it, we can learn new approaches to old problems. Okay. So, let me ask you this. Why do we learn? I think probably at the very beginning we're talking about, the cavemen. You believe in cavemen. If not, somebody else running around trying out different foods. That one's awful. And then everybody else standing, I wonder if he'll die. Oh yeah, he died. Leave that stuff alone. Okay? We learn for survival. Now today we actually learn probably more to have fun. Okay? Think about that. We probably learn more so that we can have fun. All right? So we can buy toys, we can enjoy holidays and having fun with our families and everything like that. And that's awesome. But we also have to understand that learning is ultimately vital to our success. Okay? Now, we go to school. School teaches us some stuff. But if there's anything that we should learn from school, it's not so much about the facts. It really needs to be to learn how to learn, because that is the lesson that sticks with us and blesses us for our whole entire lives. So, the question then is, well, okay, great. Well, who's teaching us? Answer. Master teachers are teaching us. All right? Who are the master teachers? Ultimately, it's all of us. We are all master teachers, regardless of your age. We are master teachers. Now you think, oh, I've never taught in a classroom. I'm not talking about a classroom. Think about this. What you do is being watched by people all the time. Okay? And you say, well, okay, Mr. Maloy, you don't have kids around you all that much anymore. I said, yeah, I know, everybody's kind of gone. Jeff is working. But Ann watches me. I watch her. And I'm not talking about, creepy stalker style. I'm just saying, we observe, we watch. And if we are observant, then we learn. We're constantly learning. Okay? Now, I want you to think about this, and it was mentioned earlier, but think about this for just a second. Think about that you know that you had great teachers in school, and you know that you had some bad teachers in school. I guarantee that if you think about this, the great teachers taught you more than just their subject. And the bad teachers couldn't even teach you their subject. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. Age is not relevant. I just recently met an 80-year-old man. Met him and had a wonderful chat with him. And I found out that he is a teacher still at 80 years old. And his students love him. And I said, wow, really? Because I'm thinking, I'm going to be bailing out of the teacher game by the time I'm 60, I think, I'm worried about that. And he says, no, don't do that. He says, my students still love me. And I go, how is that? He says, because I love them, and they know that I love them, and in turn, they love me back. I'm thinking, that's profound. That is really profound. Let me share with you just real quick before I show you this next picture up here. The best advice that I ever got while I was preparing to become a teacher was from a professor at the Utah State University. And he said this: what we need in America education today is teachers who have a passion for their subject and compassion for their students. That is going to be my guiding light. And it has been. Let me show you this. This is one of my prized possessions. Trent, do you recognize it? Trent, come up here. Come up here. Trent is one of my 8th grade students this year. Okay? Thanks for coming here, buddy. Okay, so in his 7th grade year, we had a reward day, which I do when they meet certain goals. Then they can have a sort of a down day, a catch-up day. It's structured, but the point is that they can do some things that they wouldn't do normally in a regular class. And so Trent actually drew this picture for me. And at the end of class, he came up and he gave it to me. He says, "Here, Mr. Maloy, I want you to have this." And I received this picture and I said, "That is really cool. What is it?" Now, do you remember this? You do? Okay. And Trent looked at me like I had lost my mind, like it had leaked out my ears or something, and he said, "Mr. Maloy, it's a protractor." At night. I have ever received from a student. And I thanked him then, and I thank you now, because I still have the original. I keep it safe. Okay? So, we all have value. And when we talk about creating a safe environment, it can't just be at school. Obviously, it needs to be at school, but it's got to be everywhere. It's got to be at home, too. So, when I was also 11, 12 years old, I got into a bad habit of saying I quit every time there was something hard to do. And my parents were definitely very, very concerned about this. And for, I think it was either a birthday or Christmas when I was 12 years old, they gave me this book. And if you can see, title up here, Winners Never Quit, and it's a compilation of stories of 15 athletes, this being from the 1960s and early 70s, about how they overcame pain and diversity to become great champions. They gave me this book, and the fact is that I still have it. There it is. There's my copy of the book. And this book continues to inspire me to this day. It changed my perspective. It taught me that I can deal and do hard things. So it's okay to have adversity in our lives. Well, okay, great. There is one more ingredient, though, that we need to have in order to really become successful adults, okay? And I'm going to show you a clip here so that you can begin to get an idea of curiosity. We actually need curiosity. And here's another one of my favorite, Calvin and Hobbes. Okay? I hope you can see what he says there. Uh-oh, I'm leaking brain lubricants. The thing is, though, is that, first of all, you need to understand that kids have a job description. Okay? From 0 to 12, their job description is really curiosity. It truly is. They're exploring the world everywhere that they can. Now, the next phase, 13 to hopefully 19, is actually a lot tougher because their job description, teenage job description, is to push the boundaries and to explore their own independence. Okay? And that can be really tough, especially when their brains really do leak out, which is actually fairly common. They turn from loving 12-year-old to teenage mutant. I don't know why it happens, but it does. I've seen it in my own family. We had a friend in the neighborhood. His name was Cody. And Cody was just this sweet kid, awesome young man. But when he turned 13, he mutated. He changed. He went to junior high, and he started getting straight Fs. And his mom, who was a friend of ours, was really beside herself. She said, I don't understand. What's going on here? And we would talk to her mom, or his mom, and we'd talk to Cody and say, Cody, what's going on? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. And that was pretty much it. He said, well, are you turning in your homework? I don't know. Did you do it? I don't know. Well, let's look. We'd go through his backpack. There it is. All of his homework. I said, Cody, it's right here. Why didn't you turn it in? I don't know. One day he comes home from school and he's got ink markings all over his arm. And his mom says, Cody, how'd you get those ink markings? I don't know. What? Cody, did you have your arm with you today? I don't know. All right, so mutation. Hopefully they grow out of it. That's what we want. So the other day, well, okay, it wasn't the other day. It's actually been about a month ago. I was in church, and there was this kid who was about 4 or 5 years old, and this was so awesome. I don't even know what the speaker was saying, but I was totally fascinated by this kid. He was standing on the bench, and he was doing stuff with his hands like this, and I could tell he was turning dials and sliding things, and I don't know whether he was playing some kind of video game in his head, or if he was Scotty saving the USS Enterprise from the Klingons. I don't know what he was doing, but it was clear that he could see something right there in front of him as he's doing this with both hands going like crazy. And I'm thinking, that is so awesome. Until his dad said, get down here. It's embarrassing. No, he really didn't say it. He pulled him down, and I think, okay, all right, we are in church, but I'm thinking, I want to know what he saw. What was it that he was experiencing? Because that's the kind of imagination, the creativity, the exploration, that's the kind of curiosity we need. We need more of that. So, we gotta have curiosity. Don't ever stop being curious. Don't squash curiosity. Curiosity is fundamental to us as human beings. But we need to add to that another ingredient. Imagination. Okay? Now, one day I came home from work, and Anne is sitting in the living room. We had a basement apartment at this time when Rick and Melissa were still little. And I came in the door from work, and she says, "They're your kids! They're in the bathtub!" Oh dear. What is this? I don't even remember. Was there water in the bathtub? There was water. Okay. All right. So there was water in the bathtub. But she was beside herself, and I go in, and I find Rick and Melissa covered head to toe with Crisco. Now, they're little enough, it's not like, what were you thinking? Couldn't do that, right? But I want to know. What were you... I was painting the Mona Lisa here on Melissa. And then I asked her to give me a spiky hairdo. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait to the next live and rerun that so we can figure that out. But curiosity plus imagination is powerful stuff. We add to that one more ingredient. Knowledge. And with that, we get this. Wait a second. Let's go back. Curiosity plus imagination plus knowledge equals... Okay, maybe. Or maybe we get something like this. How many of you guys have seen one of these things? Do you know what this is? Okay. This is a really old skateboard, right? I tell my students that I came from the Stone Age, and when I describe my skateboard, they believe me. Okay? This is one of my skateboards. Solid wood deck, no flex in it. And clay wheels. Okay? All right? Clay wheels. Now, you remember I told you about that long sidewalk that we had out in front of our house in Phoenix? We would sweep that from corner to corner, about a quarter of a mile. We'd sweep that because every single little pebble, you hit that with one of these skateboards, we called it a rock stop, and usually wound up right on our face. Not cool. So we would sweep. Our neighbors loved us. Hey, Maloys, go skateboarding. Okay. And off we go on our skateboards. Now, the best place, of course, was to go to a tennis court, but we still had to sweep the tennis court. I'm not kidding. We would bring brooms to sweep the tennis court so we could sweep the tennis court so we could ride these darn things. But fortunately, somebody figured out, hey, you know what? If you put rubber wheels on a skateboard, it's 10 times cooler. I mean, this is awesome. Okay? Well, hey, let's not just stop there. Let's choose some other configurations. Let's try a 3-wheel skateboard. That's pretty cool. Okay? How about this one? I am not kidding when I tell you that this was designed, this skateboard, which is called the BMW Carver, was designed by BMW engineers. Why? Because they wanted to see if it would work. We're talking about a skateboard with independent rack and pinion steering stuff. This is awesome! It also costs $500. All right. Okay. How about this one? Skateboard of the future. Funky, huh? It gets better. Check this one out. This one is already in production. And I don't know if you can quite tell, but you put your foot inside here and inside here, and then you race basically on 2 wheels. Now, if you've seen a ripstick, it's kind of, sort of like that, but not really. This is made for going downhill really fast. Okay? Next generation. Maybe. Jet engine? Yeah, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. But that's the kind of stuff that you do with imagination and with curiosity and with knowledge. You make stuff like this, okay? All right. One of the things I promised was to answer the question, why does an itch move? Turns out that your skin, which of course is the largest organ of our body, has something that is called neurons. Not neurons like up in your head, but neurons, which are at the base cell of every cell of your skin. And what happens is that something causes, now this could be a lot of different things, but something triggers a response to the brain that says, okay, this needs to be itched. Itching is really an odd thing that we do because we're actually causing pain to satisfy this itch. And you know that you can overdo it and really, break some blood cells and cause a problem. But the interesting thing is that sometimes you get this sensation that the itch is moving. It's traveling somewhere else, especially, I say, dear, get this one right here between my shoulder blades. And she starts scratching there and says, no, it's moving. It's go get it. It's like, where? This is down in quadrant 42C. Right there. Okay. We all need to wear a t-shirt or something that has those quadrants on it so we can say, itch, B4. Got it. Well, here's what scientists believe they know about itches that move. They don't really move. What's happening is those neurons are getting stimulated and other neurons are saying, okay, you satisfied that one, now come and satisfy me. And so it's a really interesting kind of bizarre phenomenon. And there is so much that is so cool about our physicality that we are still trying to understand. But we will, I believe, as we continue to apply curiosity, imagination, and what? Knowledge. Absolutely. We need to remember that we are teaching all the time. We teach not only with the content, but with the context. So that means that every single one of us needs to be very, very careful. We need to be aware of what we are teaching because we're being observed by people that we're not even aware that they're observing us, and we need to be careful. But we certainly need to be careful with those that we are coming in contact with all the time. We need to be constantly looking and saying, all right, so am I teaching something that is worthy of remembering? Am I teaching something that is worthy to inspire? Okay? Because here's the reality. This world is a very complicated world, and it has extraordinary problems and challenges, and it's going to require extraordinary solutions. In fact, I think the people that are going to come up with the solutions, I just call them solutionaries. And we have to wonder, all right, so even though we're working on these things now, who are inspiring the future solutionaries? And the answer is us. We are. Right? So perhaps the greatest thing that we can do, the greatest gift we can give, is to live the best life we can to inspire others to be better, to be smarter, to be more creative, to be more passionate, to better serve humanity. In closing, I'd like to read something that I wrote for my students a couple of years ago and shared it with the graduating class from Legacy Preparatory Academy last year. And it is this. I call it the desperate need for passion in human life. And then we will conclude. Passion is the engine of change. Passion is the sacrifice of endless hours of dogged perspiration in search of a meaningful accomplishment, even if it's meaningful to only one person. It is the joy of the breakthrough, the smile of victory, the reward of newfound strength, skill, or knowledge. Passion drives us and motivates us. It keeps us going in the face of adversity. It is the power to do hard things. It propels us through the impossible, enabling us to accomplish the miraculous. Passion is what pushed explorers across vast oceans and gave rise to telescopes among the stars. It dissected the atom and the human genome. It inspired pyramids and skyscrapers, bridges and tunnels, canals and dams. It sparked the genius of radio, telephone, television, and personal computers and married them all, putting the smartphone in the palm of your hand. Passion is the ultimate source of stories, dance, and music that speaks to our souls. Without passion, what are you? Where are you? You are among the hopeless, among the careless, among the weak and the dreary. Without passion, you would live a cold, gray existence, pushed to and fro by the breezes of every insignificant event or trivial idea. It leaves you drifting in a sea of uninspired humanity with no purpose but to suck dry another day of existence, thirsting in vain but never being quenched. To what purpose, then, do you really exist? What are your dreams and goals? Can those embers be fanned to spark and ignite the flames of passion? If you don't know what to be passionate about, be enthusiastic about learning. Learn now and keep learning forever. Learn something new every day. Learn something from everyone you meet. Observe, read, listen, discuss. Passion is what enables us to build dreams and inspire visions of a better future. We need the fire of passionate people. We need the evolutions and the revolutions caused by the unstoppable force of dedicated, focused passions. Passion is the fuel to build a bright and shining future. May we all and each inspire passion. Thank you very much.